can't hear you, Florence. Your mic is switched off.
Yes, hi everyone.
Hi, Jess. So,
hi everyone.
Hi. We have 20 minutes in this room, and I'm Prabha. I'm the head of education at the British Council. I'll be moderating the session, and we have two of our panel members here. We have Florence and we have Dr. Yatela. And I think some really interesting questions were raised. And this room belongs to Team Vision, Project Vision. So if you're in the wrong room, or if you're the wrong project, then there's something wrong here. So I hope we're still all here. So maybe let's pick up on some of the things that were discussed already, and now give the project team a time to, a chance to respond. So a couple of things. So Vision was all about amplifying youth voices on climate change challenge, if I got that right. And I think there was a call to action. And young people were the way forward, and awareness was the key, and storytelling was the mechanism to make this happen, right? So Dr. Yatela asked a question about, had raised a point just now to all teams on thinking about the wider beneficiaries. So yours is very, very clear. It's about the youth. So there was a point raised by the panel. I think it was Dr. Yatela who spoke about thinking about the wider beneficiaries. And there was also a question raised about what is the longer term sustainability and what are the plans for that longer term sustainability. And the point raised by Florence was about how strong is your ambition to see this through? How much is your commitment to push for this beyond? I know you had a phase 2 pilot phase and phase 2 thing on the slide, which was super clear. So maybe you could take us through those three elements at the moment to start off the discussions: the wider beneficiaries, the longer term sustainability, and your commitment. How do you plan to see it through, your ambition on this? So let me hand it over to the team, to the project team.
Shall I maybe come in here? My name's David Bryan. I'm head of sustainable business for Social Enterprise Academy. So the wider beneficiaries, we'd like to roll this out to school pupils, to university students, as well as young people more widely. And that links very much to the long-term vision. Social Enterprise Academy is active through partners such as neOOne in Malaysia, in 12 other countries in the world. And we also have other programs happening elsewhere in another 15 or so countries every year. That includes work in schools. In fact, we've just received investment through Scottish Government to get a social enterprise in every school in Scotland within 3 years, which is a phenomenal task that we've got for ourselves. But it shows the ambition, it shows the belief the Scottish Government has in us. But we're also rolling out this schools work in Malaysia, Egypt, South Africa, and elsewhere in the world. So we'd like to add the visioning, the future, to that schools work. And the same with our work with universities. We work with universities in Pakistan, elsewhere in Southeast Asia. And we'd like to offer this as a next step. In terms of the financial sustainability, it's sustainable for the participants because they can use these virtual impact storytelling videos that they're going to be producing. They can use that as crowdfunding. And I suppose something that's going through my mind is that there might be a possibility for us to, if the crowdfunding happens via the long-term successor to the festival, the storytelling website, then there might be an opportunity for us to generate some income from that in the same way that other crowdfunding websites do. But that's just a thought at this stage.
Thanks, David. Can I just add a bit about the wider beneficiaries there as well? I think it's great to be thinking about how we're going to be addressing kind of universities and our kind of plans to do that. But I think it's really important to also flag the wider beneficiaries beyond the kind of participants themselves, and actually what we see those young people as being leaders within their communities, and the kind of work that they're doing within those communities is affecting change within their communities. So actually, it's not they're not just the beneficiaries, it's actually who they're working with and the people that they're providing kind of impact for, and that they're inspiring, because we really want to see those young people being kind of role models within their communities, and actually other young people seeing what they're doing and seeing that it can be done, and really kind of lighting that spark. within communities and for other young people as well. So I think it goes beyond kind of the initial beneficiaries that we're working with as well.
Great, thank you. Is there any further questions from the panel based on the responses just now? Florence or Dr. Yatela?
Yes, I have a question. How could this collaboration between Malaysia and the UK could be sustainable and continue, not be just a one-off, but how could we ensure that it goes beyond? Is it a question of being able to receive additional funding, or is it something that you can continue without any funding from either British Council or YSD or anyone? I'm curious to know how we could continue the country-to-country relationship.
Yeah, I can come in there. So Scotland and Malaysia Social Enterprise Academy and neOOne have a relationship in terms of ongoing partnership working to facilitate really impactful learning interventions. So we sell programs, we win contracts, and obviously there's an element of sustainability in that. I think the wider work with young people is a challenge because there's market failure, that there's very rarely are young people able to pay for this product. So that's why we were thinking about sponsorship, first of all, that there's a great opportunity for corporates to align themselves with these values and these visions. And as I say, secondly, I think there's an opportunity perhaps in the longer term, if this festival evolves into a longer term platform, then perhaps there's an opportunity for us to generate some income as other crowdfunding platforms do. But I see sponsorship as the way to do this. It's a terrific way of engaging directly with young people. It's a very visual way, these virtual storytelling pictures, and I think that should be very, very appealing to corporates to want to be aligned with that.
Dr. Yatila, do you have a comment on this?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Okay, the discussions have been about sustainability, and I think ultimately for a potential funder like Yayasan Saim Dabi, we would like to see something that would appeal to us, as would be filling a gap. And can I go into the project implementation part of things? I was talking about the feasibility of the projects just now. Florence mentioned about having two countries working together sustainably. I'm concerned about the two countries working together now in COVID and from very different backgrounds. You have the artists and you have the scientists. And coming together and working together with different mindsets, who will make the decisions, what will be the 5 or 6 projects that you are going to be coming up with. And it'll have to appeal to the masses of the young. So who will decide what and how it would be? Because there are very serious questions and serious information that needs to go out about climate change and what we should be doing in our everyday lives. If not, this will happen. But there's also the way to appeal with the arts. So on that part of things, I would like to ask first before I ask my other questions.
Do you want to kick off, Dasriq, and then I could comment?
No, yeah, I think David could comment in a bit more detail, but I think broadly speaking, and hello Doctor, hello Prabha and Florence. Sorry, I joined in a bit late because they transport me into a different room.
Expected as much.
Yeah, but I think there's few parts of the questions there. I think one of the key value proposition, if I may respond, is the thing around digitalization. And you mentioned, about a culture. I don't see it more of a culture barrier, but I think it's more of an opportunity to. We call it in the project brief. Also, we call it culture dynamism, in the sense of how do we learn from different parts of countries, demographic, geographical, and that's also an essence that we took. If, for example, we need to scale beyond Scotland and Malaysia, even if we go Indonesia and stuff like that. With regards to, I guess, the details of the project in terms of who making decisions, stuff like that, David have done a couple of projects in Scotland. Ourselves, for example, have done similar in Malaysia and also Indonesia. So, for example, if I could share from our side of the region perspective, we've done something similar for, if I could quote, a project in Indonesia. So they don't go into a technical details of things, but in terms of creating awareness, they were saying, hey, look, Jakarta is actually sinking, right? Just by using that headlines, they got the narration like, oh, look, this is actually a real problem, right? But in terms of the technicality, yes, there'll be a portion of the capacity building whereby they'll be mentored, they'll be coached. And I guess this is where our SE Academy ethos and methodology is always around co-collaboration and co-creation. Yes, at some point they need to be a decision maker there, but I think David could actually explain that in a bit more detail.
Yeah, it's absolutely about connecting. It's about sharing of methodologies, and actually that's how sustainable development is going to be achieved. It's not just by sharing of academic disciplines coming together, it's about sharing of tools and techniques. When we started talking, we realized that storytelling is common to both of our cultures. And that really inspired us in this work. And visioning is dreaming. This is something we all do. It's inherent, it's natural in the human psyche. So I think there's absolutely no problem in sort of sharing that. The technology around virtual impact storytelling has been developed in Malaysia. So that's a kind of sharing back of the technology. But really what we want to do is we want the young people to connect. We want them to start collaborating. We want them to, as Dashrik was saying, we want them to come together, coalesce. And they may well find that instead of just having 30 individuals, we anticipate there might be 5 or 6 joint projects that are more than the sum of the parts. So that's what we anticipate will come out of that. We won't direct it, we won't require it. We'll rather let this happen naturally through facilitation.
Can I just check? Sorry, Prabha. Is it okay for me to ask another question?
Yes, please go ahead.
To test the impact of each of your projects, would you be having a test group to give you feedback of the target beneficiaries? So maybe in Malaysia as well as in Scotland, to actually see how they are taking in, whether it's appealing to them and whether they understand the complex information behind this simple storytelling mechanism. Are you going to be using that?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be checking in with our participants as we go along. We've got a series of 6 sessions to do the visioning, the dreaming, and then a similar series of sessions to be doing the more technical aspect of producing the virtual storytelling presentations. And absolutely, in every session we're checking in. We go through what we call Cobb's learning cycle, which is about having an experience, but then reflecting, thinking, and planning. So the end of every session is, okay, how do we plan? What's the next stage? And that's a great opportunity to check in. So it's very much this is a pilot group. It's a focus group. That's what we see. It's 30 people. We want to scale this up much wider.
Yeah? Right. So that means a group that has not been involved in the production at all to give you feedback and insight about the impact of the
And if I may add on, I think what David mentioned is actually on the product verification. What we plan to do also is what we consider as community or market verification. And I think this is where I was alluding to earlier. If, for example, if we could partner with anyone like a crowdfunding platform. So we see crowdfunding, it's not so much of fundraising, making money, but if people are willing to put some dollars, values, and cents into the project, meaning there's a support that people are willing to, and I think this is where we shift our lens a bit. We're not so much sure as a learning and development per se, but we also consider ourselves as an ecosystem builder in that sense. Maybe that's why we were thinking of if we could partner, whether it's corporation, foundations, and stuff like that, and reimagining this whole impact space through storytelling is something that we wanted to package all together.
Okay,
Could
we
I,
have any
could I just circle back to a hard question on budget and finance, because there's been lots of talk on crowdsourcing funding, getting sponsorship, and there was one of the questions that was submitted from the audience before the during registration was on what is all this money going to go into? How is it going to translate, and where's that? How is that distribution going to happen? I know we only have 5 minutes, but I think it's worth thinking about it.
So in terms of do you mean the money that's been spent in this pilot, or the money that's going to be raised through the crowdfunding? What's your thought?
Prabha's Prabha? I think she's frozen.
Yeah.
I think we've
Yeah,
lost.
I'm talking about everything. Yeah, sorry, lost the connection a bit. Yeah, so just very briefly.
Yeah. So the award, the grant award, is being used to enable that storytelling and visioning to happen. So it's about facilitating the bringing together of the young people, and obviously the design of the virtual festival. You know, what we want then to do is for the young people to develop these ideas, communicate those ideas, and then they themselves can generate income through their you know, using their pitches as a source of crowdfunding. So you know, that's for them then to put their ideas into practice and to bring them to fruition. So this is you know, very early stage. It's ideation, if you like, in the development of sustainable development initiatives.
And I think if we do have funding raised from a crowdfunding platform, and we've had kind of sponsorship and things, it would be about, you know, how we split that money up between the projects. We'd have to look at, you know, the young people creating a pitch, very much like we're doing today, you know, actually bringing a panel of experts together, and actually those young people having the opportunity to pitch what they're doing and bringing what they need financially to a kind of panel, and it kind of coming to that kind of decision process. And that's why it'd be really nice for us to be able to work with investors and sponsors and things, so that we could have that panel of people who have the expertise like yourselves, to kind of look at whether it's viable, and actually how we look to split up that funding. Because again, it would be very much a kind of collaborative process, and making sure that we are spending that money well, and that all the projects are having the opportunity to kind of pitch in and receive some of that funding.
Great. I think we're running out of time. Florence, you have your hand up.
No, I just wanted to ask whether the audience had any question or observation to make, and also give the team the opportunity to ask any question to Dr. Yatila or to us. So let's start with the audience. Has anyone in the audience has any question for the team, please? Or any advice or comment? Or offer to give $1 million, or
I think the budget question was from the audience. That was from something that was submitted.
Okay.
So that was addressed. I don't see anything else in the chat. So maybe some questions from the team.
So then,
anything in a couple of minutes?
Does the team has, yeah.
Can I just ask one last question on the virtual festival? It's like one day, yeah? No, it's 5 sessions in different, and you're also open to actually share it with other festivals as well, because I'm just thinking YSD has our arts festivals where we want to talk about climate change as well. So that's being postponed from this year to next year. So definitely will be in time for yours.
Yeah.
How open are you to share?
If I could, and David could add on, because we've discussed this in detail, because we see that as an output beyond the value. The current positioning, yes, we probably want to do it as COP, you know, around the time of COP26. But there's an idea here to perhaps democratize the storytelling, the projects that are coming out of the virtual impact. And then I guess this is where we're looking to sustain or even scale, you know, in the sense of, you know, for example, YSD, you know, maybe have existing youth that you already supported, but then maybe the articulation of it may not be as clear. And also maybe now we're infusing the digital, you know, storytelling, right? If, for example, we could get those, you know, group of network of, I guess, alumni and beneficiary on board, There's no reason why not to. And perhaps if they could also use the crowdfunding to help them sustain and scale. And this is where Jess mentioned earlier about, when the money comes in, it's not so much so about the project. Yes, maybe the project takes a certain cut, but broadly speaking, majority is actually goes to the projects that are featured. So yeah, it's pretty much what you said.
The projects, would it be for different age groups? Because we also go to schools, like primary schools, secondary schools. We can actually share those when we go to schools.
And that's what we want to do. We want to expand
Different
this
age
work
groups.
into schools.
University level and schools level. And
Schools
maybe corporate level as well.
And young people beyond that. Yeah, absolutely. The COP26 is a real challenge for the global media to cover sustainable development. It's such a massive topic, climate change. One way they could do that is to latch on to the very visual ideas and projects and visions and initiatives of young people. And we think this platform will provide a vehicle for the media to really engage directly with the amazing work that's just starting to happen.
So your focus groups must be from those age groups, to actually really test out whether the primary school students understand it and very well. You have to get feedback from them, and secondary school students, and etc. etc.
That's
very
exactly.
exciting. Yeah.
Great. We have some great ideas. Audience, you have one final chance to ask any questions. Any raised hands? Project team, do you have any more questions for the panelists while we have them as captive audience? Okay, we've got 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Hope to continue this discussion with you guys.
I'd like it to continue.
I just want to say we could perhaps follow up between us.
Yes.
We could organize, if Dr. Yatila is interested, you can get in touch with me.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.